Reason for it generally has been quarterback play. But what we have seen from them in the past, Will, is Super Bowl or at least like championship caliber defense. What are we seeing in the Steeler defense? Right now, that to me is a much bigger problem than anything they're getting out of Rodgers.
Look, $179 million on the defense. It's not a question of, if that defense will wake up. Like, they have to. Like, that is where all the money is. And then you mentioned it with the quarterback play, Aaron Rodgers. I'm not really concerned with him. It's just, what are they going to do offensively? They're like, 31st in the league, running the football. Don't see what they're going to do offensively against the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, when you brought Aaron Rodgers in, the thought process was the defense will always be really good. We're going to ask you to do less than what you had to do with the New York Jets. We just need a little above average quarterback play, which you can get from Aaron Rodgers in his sleep, typically in his career. This year, with the defense playing the way that it has, to Dan's point, they're not great at running the football. And down the field, it's like when Aaron Rodgers is in the pocket, he is affected by pressure for whatever reason. And it's just not typical of what we see from him. You're going against a Brian Flores defense with those exotic pressures, it could get ugly.
To put it into context, not great at running the football. They've been outrushed 230 yards.
In 3 games.
Yeah. 200? Yeah. That's the most in the NFL. So there's a couple games this weekend that I think can get out of hand. This is one of them.
Give me the Steelers side of things, Shefty.
Look, we're coming up with the run game, the defense, the offense, like all these holes, and how they faded and not been a player. You know what it is? They miss Ben Roethlisberger more than people realize.
Right.
When you have the franchise quarterback, it covers up all the warts, and they haven't had it. They've struggled to find the guy. They've bounced from quarterback to quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers has stepped in and played well and has been dealing at times. But the fact of the matter is they've got some holes that they've got to figure out and address. When you don't have the franchise quarterback, those things
What you got?
As physical as it used to be, and they got to get their stars playing like stars.
They look old and they look slow, and I'm not talking about their 41-year-old quarterback. Right now, I think he's the least of their
He's been
problem.
everything that they could have hoped him to be.
I want to go the other side of this. Any of you who have been, and we thank you for it, if you've been with Get Up back to our earliest days, Dan Orlovsky's belief in Carson Wentz was a huge topic on this show. And obviously there's been a lot of water under that bridge. But it was a very encouraging first performance for him. What do you expect from him against a Steeler defense that has been struggling? And what is your big picture view of Wentz now with Kevin O'Connell?
Yeah, I fully expect him to play well again. I thought the two things were timing and reaction were really good. If Carson Wentz plays well again, it absolutely is going to become a conversation in that building of does he remain their starting quarterback? The offense clicked. Now Christian Darrisaw, their left tackle, being back, huge part of it. But if he performs again like he did last week and this offense looks the way that it should with Addison back, then him remaining their starting quarterback is at least going to be a conversation in that building.
Well, first things first. Okay, J.J. McCarthy's got the high ankle sprain. And they play in Dublin this week against the Steelers, and they play in London next week against the Browns. There is the schedule. They then have a bye week. So J.J. McCarthy wouldn't be back until October 19th against the Eagles. That would be the game that you would figure he would target. But here's the deal. The better Carson Wentz plays, the more time he buys J.J. McCarthy to recover fully from that ankle injury. And if he keeps playing well, then you're going to keep riding him at that point in time. If he's playing well, you're winning games, the ankle's not right, you just stick with him until you feel like you need to make the change.
In the NFL, the best ability is availability, right? And it's unfortunate for JJ in that scenario where Carson Wentz has a resurgence and they're saying, hey, we're going to ride the hot hand. I still think JJ McCarthy is an incredible quarterback. I think he gets better when the pressure is on. But the thing about the NFL is you can't speed up experience, even what you're seeing from Carson Wentz. If it takes him 10,000 reps to become the player he is now, and we're judging him at 5,000, or maybe you only get the 5,000.
Like really understands the roster. If they get average quarterback play, they're an NFC championship contender. And so if Carson Wentz is giving you that plus, I just think it's going to be hard to not justify keeping him on the field.
And they want Carson Wentz to not be Superman. They just want him to manage things, be simple, not make mistakes.
And he did take 3 sacks last week where I'm like, stop doing that, dude.
Could he be the next one in these quarterback reclamation projects who've seen a lot of guys bounce? Let's dive into them a little bit. I feel ridiculous bringing up the notion that the Eagles need to change anything they're doing. They've won J. Brown might be as good as any receiver in the league. Do you believe, Drew Brees goes on First Take and says that their offense is boring to watch. Do you believe the Eagles need to open it up a little bit more than they have?
No, I mean, I thought even last week in the second half comeback, all they did was put A.J. by himself and be like, hey, go run a 12-yard stop route, and he did. So I thought they were a little bit less predictable in their pass game. That's been my issue. I don't think that they need to do more. The beauty of the Eagles' offense is, like, stop it. Go ahead and stop it and try to when it matters the most. No one's really been able to do that. I think the interesting part of it is, like, can they get Saquon going? Like, that's the quiet thing that hasn't really been said out loud this year. They're 3-0 and whatnot. Saquon hasn't gotten going. He's on, like, in comparison to last year, I mean, he's nowhere close to what he was doing last year. I mean, just look at the top numbers, 63, 58. That's carries, right? Last year to this year. Last year, he was over 5.5 per carry. This year, he's under 3.5. And so, like, that's the interesting thing, part of their offense. I've talked about there's been more out of A.J. Brown. That was better last week. But they haven't gotten Saquon Barkley going. And I think that is the key this week. Like, if they don't run the ball well in early downs against Tampa, Tampa's going to fire zone blitz your face off, and that's advantage Tampa's defense.
You said nobody's been saying it out loud. I've been screaming it every day when I'm in the shop at the bus because Saquon's on my fantasy team. I need him to get going as well. you look at it's like yeah, they got to get Saquon going. Do they need to throw the ball more? I'm curious your perspective. I'm curious your perspective on like how you make that happen, because when you look at Saquon last year, when he's touching the rock around 20 times a game, you're getting at least 120. Right now, he is averaging around 20 carries per game, and he's getting about 60 yards on the ground. 60,
how you make
70.
what happen?
How do you balance? Is it, hey, give us that second half offense? Like, what are you doing to mix in the pass to get Saquon going?
Well, I think last year they were a lot more explosive on early downs, and this year they're not. I think it's all situational as well. Like, they live in a world where their defense is so good, they're going to try to control the game. Philosophically, I don't think they want to get turnover, expose themselves to potential turnovers, and I think that's why they played a little bit close to the vest. I don't love it, but it wins. Like, it gets the job done.
Yeah, and it's also like no one cares how cute your offense is or how fun it is to watch if you're getting wins in the building. So do they have to change anything? No. Do they want to make the run game a little bit better? It's like, yeah, they're 29th in offense and passing last year. They're right there this year. You want to have some sort of a vertical threat down the field so you get that box to loosen up a little bit. Also, they've been doing a lot more plays through the middle between the tackles. If you look at last year and some of the perimeter, like tackle pulls in the perimeter, that's where Saquon can really get ahead of steam. And you have two very athletic tackles in Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson that can make those blocks out there. I get a little creative with that, and then allow A.J. Brown, who's probably the most talented wide receiver in the entire league, to run more than just your 3-yard.
Yeah, I think, Becton, Becton not there at right guard matters. Becton just moved people. Obviously, Lane Johnson hurt last week, so, there's a reality where the offensive line hasn't been fully healthy. I would love for them to get more creative, but at the same time, it hasn't been a necessity.
Yeah, just win, right?
Well, and just win. They've won 19 of 20 games. 19 of their last 20. So we can pick them apart all we want. The fact of the matter is all they do is keep winning, including the Super Bowl, including going to the playoffs 7 of the last 8 years, 19 of 20 games. And we're finding things wrong, and that's why now I will say this. Tampa, that's been their house of horrors. Yeah. They have not played well in that building.
Jalen Hurts is 1-4 against Tampa.
Take me inside. Listen to these idiots.
Oh, that's
they're
exactly
talking about what's wrong with us. We're 3-0. We're the Super Bowl champs. We've won 19 out of 20. Like, I actually feel ridiculous bringing this up. However, I do find myself thinking this is going to catch up to them. I feel like this could catch up to them at some point. Is the only reason that I feel it's a worthwhile conversation.
Well, yeah, it almost caught up to them in the game against the Rams.
That's what
Yeah,
I mean.
and the second half is the offense you want to see.
If Travis Kelce holds on to that football, we may be talking about something entirely different.
But he didn't, and they didn't.
Yeah, exactly. So Sirianni's saying they're laughing with Big Don going, look at these schmucks over here sitting at a table.
It's a big vantage point of
get
Detroit.
yours.
Week 1 bad, but the last 2 weeks Detroit looks like Detroit, and they're super talented. The Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the NFC West, the whole division is going to be playoff caliber. So both things could be true. 3-0 and find ways to win. You also look at all these other teams that are really good and really well coached and really creative that you sit there and go, if you don't play your best, you're going to get beat by them.
The NFC is more loaded than it's been in quite some time. And
better than the AFC,
Everybody
right?
thought the AFC was going to be the big bad beast. And you look at it, and the NFC's got 5 or 6 powers. So the Eagles have more competition, and Will's fancy team is struggling. Those are 2 things.
Let's actually illustrate that point. Let's do a quick more or less. It's brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. We've got a big game tonight.